The Last Temptation of Christ is my second favorite film of all time. I mention that because it meant something to me as a Christian and is still powerful and meaningful to me as a former Christian. It is the best example, in my opinion, of the good and valuable things about Christianity and religion. My question is, do any of y'all have any good associations with religion? Is there anything that you took from a faith or belief that you held before or in learning about other religions, adopted a philosophy that rang true to you, and how you see the world? You were kind of saying the complete inverse earlier, but I'm curious what your answer would be there, Adam, because I don't have a background.
Well, so there are valuable aspects to religion, but in my opinion, the more you start to break those things down, the more you realize that religion doesn't exactly have like a monopoly on these concepts. So some people might argue certain things like morality. Other people might argue like, okay, even if you don't like take the Bible literally, there's still stories there's still valuable stories to take from within that about like morality and life learning lessons, etc. There's also the community aspect, which is like a really big thing. Like if you're going to church every Sunday, you're surrounded with other people that are a part of your group, especially, you're singing songs with them too. Like they've actually done like neurological studies in terms of how bonded people feel with each other when they're singing music with each other. But if you break it down, like it can provide like a good sense of structure to people. It can provide a good sense of belonging to people. I just don't think that necessarily needs to come from religion. And I've heard other people make the argument of like, oh, what? That doesn't exist outside of religion. But it really does. You have to find a community, really. If you have like a community of something that interests you, like the furry community is like a really good example of this. Like you can meme on it all you want, but like it does provide a great sense of community and like openness and, just structure even. So there's a lot of things that you don't necessarily have to get from religion that are good things about religion. So yeah, I mean, perspective wise, I think that probably was my biggest takeaway, is just learning and thinking about things. But yeah, I guess just to finish off this little ramble, I find it interesting that a lot of these, almost like every major organized religion has these aspects within them, like those community aspects, those like singing aspects, those like essentially group meditation, close your eyes and hum, or like prayer or whatever. Like they're all different variations of all of these things where if you really think about them, you're essentially like putting your brain in like a more susceptible state. Like fasting is a big one for a lot of religions. It's like, oh, well, you deprive yourself of enough food, it changes your state of mind and makes you more open to these ideas. It makes you more open to like religious experiences, if that's what we would like, hallucinations or whatever, right? So I just find it very interesting, like all these different similarities and parallels across religions, and it makes sense in terms of like, yeah, they would have to have those things, otherwise they wouldn't be as popular. They wouldn't still be around today. So yeah, there's interesting and positive aspects, but I don't think it needs to come from religion. When I first stopped believing in God, there was a moment where I was like, I found prayer as a sort of like place of comfort. I found myself being like, oh, like I would have these paranoid thoughts when I was like 13 or something of like, oh no, there's going to be like a killer that jumps into my house or something. And so I'd pray to God before I went to sleep, thinking, please make sure there's no killer that's going to kill me tonight or whatever. And I would get like an immediate sense of comfort from doing that. And it's a very normal neurological response to that sort of thing, to believe in a higher power and have like trust and faith, or even just the meditation aspect of something like that, or even just saying things out loud to yourself. And one of the moments I remember when I stopped believing in that, I eventually I substituted. I did like a, like a test. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pray to my pillow instead. And I said those exact same things. And what's weird is like, even though I didn't believe that I had a supernatural, omnipotent pillow, I still got those exact same feelings of like comfort through just, the saying those things out loud, or the meditation aspect, or even just like, processing that information in a way was providing that exact same physical and emotional comfort. And I was like, okay, maybe these things don't necessarily need to come from religion. It's just a matter of society being built around it and religion constantly insisting that it needs to exist because of those things, that people get confused and it's difficult to immediately come up with solutions of how we still provide those things without necessarily religion needing to be involved. It's something that people have to figure out. It's a process for sure.
Mm. Do you have any positive, good associations with religion, Ralph, that inform you today?
Do you? Yeah, I do. Yeah, the sense of community. Yeah, I feel like that's a strong part of religion. Like you guys were saying, yeah, definitely the cooperative aspect, and usually people getting together, and I don't know, usually charity work. It's usually something I try to do, like church or whatever, stuff like that. That's usually good. That's a good thing that comes out of religion. Usually is charity, giving to people who don't have food or whatever. With Thanksgiving, you give canned food away. Yeah, stuff like that. I think that's a strong part. I don't get anything spiritually out of I'm not a very spiritual person. To some degree, I guess everyone is, but yeah, that's very minor part of me. I'm very practical. But yeah, I don't have a lot of negative attachments with religion, really. Yeah, I just don't really believe in a lot of it. I haven't struggled with it, really.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add, Alex, to that? I don't like talking about religion. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I can't really give that kind of perspective like Adam can. You can kind of speak to the culture more so. Obviously, we're informed by the religion, the culture that came before us. So there's obviously a lot of it in our DNA.
We're all a product of our environments.
Exactly. So the world we live in is informed by the religions of the past, so it's silly to write off the historical significance of it or whatever, but as far as it affecting my day-to-day life, it never really has. So my view of the world has never really come from that kind of perspective, but
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great one to end it on, because that sort of wraps things back up.
Yeah.
That wraps things back up